A live look at the White House right now, where any moment now, President Donald Trump will speak from the Oval Office. This as the president is now changing his tune on Russia and threatening to impose sanctions for their actions in Ukraine. The president said on social media this morning, quote, based on the fact that Russia is absolutely pounding Ukraine on the battlefield, he is strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and final settlement agreement on peace is reached. Now, this move comes 1 week after that Oval Office showdown between President Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Since then, the president has announced that the U.S. and Ukrainian officials will meet in Saudi Arabia next week. So let's start there with CBS News senior White House reporter Jennifer Jacobs. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time. The president is urging Ukraine and Russia to get to the table right now before it's too late. What do we know about this sudden shift coming from the White House?
It can be safely interpreted as the president's impatience with the progress in ending this war in Ukraine. I can explain to you a little bit about what sorts of sanctions the president could impose on Russia if he wanted to. It all depends on how heavy he wants to get with the Russians, how much of a message he wants to send, because of course there already is harsh sanctions already that the U.S. and the Europeans imposed on Russia and on the banking industry after the war started, after the Russians invaded Ukraine 3 years ago. So theoretically, if he wanted to be really tough, he could impose sanctions on all Russian banks. He could impose sanctions on a Chinese bank because, as we know, the Chinese have been supplying components and items that are being used in the defense industry in Russia in the war against Ukraine. Or they could do various things to tighten oil sanctions. There are various options on that. So it all depends on how tough of a message he wants to send to Russia. But the bottom line is, it is clearly evidence that the president is getting tired of what's happening on the effort to get to peace. As we know, the Trump officials are meeting in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia next week with some of the Ukrainians. So the president wants to see forward progress.
And Jennifer, while we have you here, I want to play this news sound that we just got from the president on his plans to negotiate a nuclear deal with Iran, and we'll get your take on the other side of the sound.
I've written him a letter saying, I hope you're going to negotiate, because if we have to go in militarily, it's going to be a terrible thing for them.
You wrote a letter to the Khomeini,
yes.
The leader? When did you send the letter?
Yesterday.
And you said you better negotiate, or we want you to negotiate?
I didn't say you better. I said, I hope you're going to negotiate, because it's going to be a lot better for Iran. And I think they want to get that letter. The other alternative is we have to do something, because you can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
So what more do we know about this letter the president is saying he sent?
This marks the first engagement between this Trump administration and Iran. You probably recall that just yesterday that the president's envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, told us that as far as he knew, the U.S. government wasn't having any direct conversations with Iran whatsoever. And the President Trump, is saying that he sent this letter to the Supreme Leader on Wednesday, it sounds like. I haven't seen confirmation yet that the Supreme Leader has received the letter yet. We'll keep checking on that. But what it indicates is that the U.S. and Israel, which, as we know, Trump values the Israeli ally, the relationship with Israel. There's been serious concerns that Iran is getting very, very close to being able to produce nuclear weapons. So this is the U.S. standing together with Israel and sending a message to Iran. Whether the Iranians would be willing to have direct discussions with the U.S. and with the Trump administration is not known, because the Supreme Leader, who is 85 years old, is anti-Western and has indicated he does not want to have direct talks. But this is the first engagement and opening salvo from President Trump.
Yeah, time will tell what comes out of that. And Jennifer, looking ahead to tonight, the White House, we know, will host the first ever crypto summit. What can we expect from that event?
It is a good chance for those leaders from the industry. There's a very long list of industry executives who will be participating in this summit. It's a chance for them to thank President Trump. They are very appreciative of the way he has been welcoming of cryptocurrencies. It's an opportunity for them to message what they want as far as legislations or reforms in the industry. It's an opportunity for the president to also thank them. They were very influential in donating to his campaign and being there for him throughout his campaign and supporting him. So I expect a lot of that mutual back and forth praise between the two of them. And it's also just a message. It's an opportunity for both sides to message what they want to see going forward as they're trying to push digital assets into the mainstream.
Okay, CBS News senior White House reporter Jennifer Jacobs, thank you so much for your time today.